Hello, everyone. My name is Emma Hoffman. I am a senior accounting student here at the University of Denver, and I'm very excited to be talking with you today about Pfizer. I chose Pfizer for several reasons. I am very interested in pharmaceutical sales. I currently work at Lifetime Fitness and have experience selling vitamins and supplements, and so I think this is a skill that I could definitely leverage if I were to work for Pfizer. And why I chose Pfizer specifically is because out of the pharmaceutical industries that exist, they are a global leader. They are known for their market dominance, and this is made possible through their various acquisitions and strategic partnerships with different specialized medical groups. So then we'll go into a little bit of history about Pfizer. Pfizer obviously has a large track record of R&D, research and development for vaccines and medications. And I think this started in 1882 when Pfizer was able to create a smallpox vaccine. And then throughout the years, they increasingly solidified their spot as market leader by being the first to develop certain things like in 1968 and 2000 and 2010. And then additionally, most recently, Pfizer is known for their quick response time in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic and creating a vaccine so quickly when people needed it most. So we're going to jump into a little bit of a pestle analysis. We're just going to briefly go over the most important points. For political aspects, the most important factor for Pfizer is going to be their regulation and compliance policies that they are going to have to be under compliance from the FDA in the US and the EMA in Europe. Economically, the most important factor for Pfizer is going to be government funding and also governmental subsidies or the lack of government funding. Obviously, a lot of you know, government funding for healthcare and research can influence Pfizer's R&D investments, especially in vaccines and disease treatments. And then socially, most recently, there have been a lot of public health trends regarding supplements and taking your health into your own hands, which I think Pfizer has been able to capitalize on. And this kind of leads into another health trend that goes along with technology. I think it's become a lot more popular to integrate your health with technology and use digital platforms to monitor your health. And I think those are two ways that Pfizer is going to expand on their market base in the future. Environmentally, the most important thing is going to be the proper pharmaceutical waste management. Obviously, with pharmacy, there is a lot of biohazardous materials that is under strict regulation for how it is to be disposed of. And so it is increasingly important that Pfizer pay attention to these regulations. And then additionally, the legal factors are probably going to be their most important. And obviously, we've touched on a few of these in political and both environmental. There are patent laws that they have to abide by, that they have to secure in order to have market exclusivity with a specific drug. And obviously, compliance regulations, both with FDA and EMA, and also waste management. And then going on to the five forces framework, I determined that the threat of new entrants was low, considering that those regulations that we discussed previously, because there are so many regulations and hoops to jump through, it is increasingly difficult for a company to become a powerhouse in the pharmaceutical industry like Pfizer is. The bargaining power of the suppliers is moderate, considering that for a lot of the raw materials, they are active pharmaceutical ingredients and come from very specialized suppliers. So if there's less suppliers who have the material, then obviously their bargaining power increases. And then also for Pfizer, there's really high switching costs. I mean, obviously going along with this, because there are less suppliers, the switching cost is a lot higher. Bargaining power of the buyers is pretty high, considering that a lot of major buyers purchase in bulk. And so it gives them a lot of leverage to make decisions about what they want, how much they want, things like that. And also, once patents expire, obviously for consumers, the availability of generic, cheaper alternatives will obviously influence their decision to buy something else. The threat of substitutes is moderate. We do obviously have that patent protection, but it's only for a certain amount of time. Once that patent expires, obviously generic alternatives can create cheaper forms, and they can do that very easily once the patent expires. The competitive rivalry for the pharmaceutical industry is very high, considering the basis for a lot of innovation is R&D, research and development, and R&D takes a lot of money. So a lot of times it's these large pharmaceutical companies battling it out on who can research and develop the best and the fastest. And then the sixth force of complementary products, Pfizer has done a very good job in creating complementary products that increase their revenue. First to note is vaccines and related products. This is most prevalent and illustrated throughout the COVID-19 vaccine. Along with the vaccine, they also created syringes and vials that would also be purchased in bulk when these vaccines were being purchased as well. Obviously, increases their revenue a lot. They have combination products and biological treatments. This is most illustrated in their oncology drugs. And then, as we touched on previously, the integration of digital health and creating platforms for patients to monitor their health. And their competitive advantage would be their global reach and distribution. It's valuable because they have spent so long, they've spent almost 200 years developing this global reach, and they've created a lot of brand loyalty in all of these different places. So that's a lot of brand recognition across the globe. This is also very rare because you have to jump through a lot of hoops in order to get things patent protected, get drugs patent protected, and it's obviously there's a lot of compliance regulations, like we mentioned with the FDA and EMA, hoops that you have to jump through in order to get at the level that Pfizer has, making it pretty rare. It also is very costly to imitate. As I've mentioned, a large part of the reason Pfizer has been able to generate so much market dominance is because of the amount of money that they've spent on research and development. So it definitely is very costly to imitate. And I would say that Pfizer has definitely organized their structure to capitalize on this global reach. They have efficient global operations, proven track record, and they have integrated their supply chain to make distribution easier. At a business level, their main strategy is differentiation by being a leader in research and development. Obviously, the reason why pharmaceutical industries are so competitive is because there's so much money and competition in research and development. And we've talked a little bit about this, but I want to go into more of the strategic alliances. And these are definitely what helps Pfizer differentiate itself from other competitors, is their use of collaboration. And we'll go into these in a little bit of detail here. The Pfizer actually acquired Array Biopharma for $11.4 billion, and this was really to strengthen their category leadership in oncology. As you can see below, they noticed the emerging market for patients with colorectal cancer and decided that a acquisition of Array, as described by this quote by the CEO, would definitely enhance their long-term trajectory of growth. Additionally, most recently and most famously, probably, Pfizer collaborated with BioNTech for their COVID-19 vaccine. And here we can see a little bit of the investment opportunities and kind of some of the logistics there, and how both companies had a shared end goal. And because of this, they were able to collaborate for a mutually shared end goal that benefited the entire population, as this quote describes as chief scientific officer. And then lastly, going into the equity subscription agreement with Valneva, this was chosen, Pfizer chose Valneva specifically because of their leading research in Lyme disease and the fact that their VLA15 is the only Lyme disease vaccine that is currently in clinical development. They updated their term. They originally made the agreement in 2020, and they updated their terms of agreement in 2022 to better delegate the investment amounts and research and development amounts between both Pfizer and Valneva. And then here is a quote from the senior vice president and head of vaccine research explaining the emerging market for solution for Lyme disease. And then at a corporate level, we've talked about pretty much all of these. They are definitely very strong with their vertical integration. They manage their own distribution channels, as we've mentioned earlier, to make it easier. Through their research and development, they have created vast horizontal diversification, as those strategic alliances will tell us. They are very interested in expanding their portfolio. And then lastly, geographic scope. As we know, they operate regional distribution hubs worldwide and have definite credibility in all of these locations. Some recommendations after having gone through this analysis is to definitely continue the focus on strategic alliances and partnerships, like with Valneva and BioNTech and Array Biopharma. All of these have increased their growth and also increased their product portfolio. And so continuing to collaborate with others is definitely something that will continue to increase their revenue and increase their portfolio. Additionally, a continuation of strengthening market penetration in emerging markets. So continuing to research where there is a gap in medical help or medical solutions, and then meeting those markets. And then lastly, I think what Pfizer could do to really strengthen their overall strategy is to focus a little bit more on sustainability and ESG, as those points are becoming increasingly important today, and consumers definitely pay attention to things like that. And it would also ensure that Pfizer not only meets their compliance requirements from the FDA, EMA, and others, but also exceeds them. And yes, I have had a very awesome time conducting this analysis, and thank you.